Hi guys, I am feeling young today, so I'm walking into the video and not just sitting here like sometimes I did. Today I have some really exciting agates from the mysterious island. There is no specific information about where these are coming from, so there's only some kind of guessing or more educated guessing. Some people believe they come from Sumatra, Indonesia, Oceania region. I believe they may be from Madagascar, which is also an island, but since there's no information out on these that is more specific, it's really just a guess that I'm making here. However, these are marketed as island agate, and these are pretty cool pieces to cut. These are very weathered from the millions of years of transportation they went through and have been river tumbled. A lot of these have changed their color from their outside appearance due to the weathering, just like this kind of white opalized husk area, and sometimes it's more like a brownish yellowish area, but inside they can have completely different colors. I have seen pieces with yellow, pink, purple, white, green, like so many different colors. But what I really like about these agates is that they often have like really nicely harmonically swung banding, and that's also what sets these apart from pretty much any other agate worldwide. And yeah, some parallax in these pieces too. I got a couple really interesting looking nodules that I want to cut together with you, so that's what we're going to do right now. Yeah, this is the first piece I want to cut with you, and this looks like it has been transported all the way with still some horse rock attached. I think I've never seen that before in any island agates, so that is a pretty cool detail in this piece. It looks like it has some fracturing lines running across here and parallel to that. The question is, how scared am I of these fractures, and how deep will they go inside of the stone, because I can see them reach all the way around, and this would be like the perfect cutting angle because it's a little bit wider and deeper here on this side, so I would probably cut right through where the fractures are, or I would cut across to have a little bit tighter and more symmetrical banding. So I think I'll just pretend I don't see the fractures and hope that they will just be in the very outer part of the banding, and just go for the cut that cuts in a cross section to these fractures to get a little bit more of parallax, because it seems like it has pretty much a lot of this banding from what I can see here on this window and a window section up top here. Great parallax. Yeah, it turns out it was a good decision to cut it for the tighter banding, because it actually has some killer parallax here in this section and in the other half as well. Nice floater down here with a little bit of these citrine yellow quartz colorization. It's got a little bit of a fracturing down here where the floater is about to start, and a little bit of the quartz, but it's still a pretty cool piece with this super strong floater. Parallax, so yeah, I think it's a pretty cool piece. Yeah, this piece is heavily weathered. It's probably one of the most weathered island agates I've ever seen. It looks spectacular just in its rough shape, with the entire banding visible already here on this side. So you can imagine the larger part of the nodule is probably missing, and it's just closing down to this end. So I will try to keep as close as possible to this already broken off surface area. It looks also like it has some fracturing here in the back. So I will try to cut maybe about a ½ inch just from the front here to get a flat face, and not to cut into this section of the banding, so right next to it, so at least the least possible will be interrupted of the banding, because the window actually wraps all the way around until the front side, so just once across the front of the specimen right here.
Wolltest du noch mal drehen?
Oh, ja, klar. Yeah, if you're looking for the most typical island agate you can possibly get, then this is probably the one for you. It's got the most typical colors you can find in these island agates, with this kind of brownish greenish background chalcedony, some nicely swung banding, and a little bit of fracturing, a little bit of white in this half as well. So I would say most of the island agates you will cut will probably have some sort of this color combination. Yeah, this is such a smooth and slippery piece that I got here. It's got broken surface areas all the way around where I can see some sort of banding, so avoiding all of it will be impossible. So I will cut closer to where the bigger volume of the stone is, which is more to the left side of the piece. So somewhat parallel through here next to the fracturing line, and then across here, and trying to stay away from the most open part, but probably somewhere through here and then back up top, parallel to the left side. But it's decently nice. Yeah, I placed the cut pretty exactly the way I wanted, and it turned out like this. So the same kind of colors in the banding, a little bit more contrast in the center in this piece, but also a couple of these fractures going on. Some nice parallax in the rim area. So I would call this maybe a little bit better than most. Yeah, this piece has me hyped. Look at this super fine parallax banding in this area, and I assume it will be the entire way in the outer bands of this specimen. So I will of course try to keep it parallel to the banding that's going all the way around here. It's got a natural flat side on this half of the specimen, so I will really just cut it down the middle, maybe even a little bit more towards that side where I can already see it has this tight concentrated banding. And yeah, that's what I'm going for. I decided now to put it a little bit more towards the thicker side of the piece, also because I can see that there's a little floater peeking through here on that side, which looks like it may have some pink or purple color. So I'm also trying to cut some of that. Yeah, the colors in this piece are fantastic, the parallax as well, and it would have been a $200 piece if it didn't have those fractures. But beautiful colors, super strong parallax in this entire section right here, but because it has those fractures, it is not a $200 agate, but more a $20 agate now. This is the second last one of these island agate nodules I have. And this broken off area here is water level banding. There's a lot of this fortification banding around it. There's not so much here on this side. I don't really like cutting through here, but if I cut on the top, it would give me kind of a weird angle to the water level banding. So I like to cut in a 90-degree angle if there's more water level banding reaching up further in the nodule. What I'm a little afraid of is this line here, which is a fracturing line, and I can see it also goes into this fortification agate banding. So I don't want to cross any of that fracturing line and just cut parallel to here. It's actually also convenient because the agate is the thickest here, more in the left area, and even if I don't cut through the, very center of the piece, it will still have a lot of volume. Also, what's really interesting is that it looks like it has some of these kind of tube structures coming from the top here. So yeah, it may be a really interesting piece actually. I just changed my mind last second, and the reason is the tubes that I see here, they seem to penetrate pretty deeply in the stone in this area. So I will cut it across here. I will probably have a little bit of the fracturing line, and I will have a weird water level banding, but I also hope that I've cut it in this angle that I will have a lot of these eyes from the tubes that are coming from the top. Yeah, this piece turned out a little different from what I thought. I thought the water level banding reaches more inside of the piece, but it looks like this was probably the last layer of the water level banding that shaped at the bottom of the nodule. And it is actually a pretty good looking piece. Here's the fracturing line I could see from the bottom, but it's actually not that bad. And the eyes are pretty nice as well. Nice banding in this piece too. So I would say this was probably the better decision to cut it this way. Yeah, this is also a very old appearing nodule, very weathered on different sides of the piece. You can see all the banding here, a lot of banding here, a little window where I can cut in between where there's no interruption of the banding if I cut through here. And then I'll probably cut all the way across here, across the corner right there, and then back through in between those two larger sized windows. Yeah, this agate looks like it's been around for a long time, and it's got some great colors, but also a lot of fractures. So this actually looks a lot more like banded carnelian than an agate with all these fine fractures. So a lot of these yeah, kind of reddish carnelian agates, they also have a lot of these fine fractures that are sometimes also referred to as snowflakes. This is the overall result of all the island agates I've been cutting with you today, and I would call it not good, not bad, so it's not either of the two. I think there's two of the pieces that I will get polished because they're quite nice looking. I really am a sucker for the strong parallax, so that is probably my favorite of the entire batch. This one I will get polished, and this one probably as well, just because it has this nice appearance. It's got the fracture which will of course reduce the value of it a little bit, but both of these pieces will be available for retail on my website. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed watching the video, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more and not miss out on any of my future videos, and I thank everyone for watching this video. And yeah, also let me know which of these is your favorite in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time.